This is KLEAN Radio.
Welcome, everybody out there listening to KLEAN Radio on our flagship station, 790 KABC, or on the worldwide stream at KLEANradio.com. That's KLEAN with a K. Or on our new channel on XM. It's XM channel 243, the last station on the dial. So here's the cool thing about being on the last station on the dial. The easiest way to get it is, if you go to 0, go left. And you hit KLEAN Radio, XM channel 243. Rand, thank you very much for giving me that great info. And I'd like to welcome everybody out there listening. We're a show about addiction and recovery. And pretty much, we take calls. So many people out there have questions about addiction and recovery. We have an amazing show for you tonight. We have a great guest, an actor, a very talented actor named Robert Rusler, who's been in many movies, and he has a couple movies coming out this year. But one of the things I actually wanted to talk about quickly before and I would love to get people's opinions on this, so please give us a call. The number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. And I was talking with Robert before the show about what is it about alcoholics or addicts or people that are depressed. What is it that they have such a hard time getting on the phone and asking for help? You know, they could have every problem going on, and the hardest thing they have to do is get on the phone. And what is that? Why are people that are suffering out there? Is it ego? Is it shame? What is it? And, you know, when I was drinking, and I did that for many years, I could walk around in public and I had no problem walking around like the biggest embarrassment. But all of a sudden I needed help. I was embarrassed to get on the phone and ask for help. And I want to know your opinion on that. I want to know, what is it? Why is it so hard? How do we make it easier for somebody that is out there struggling? How do we make it easier for them to get on the phone and say, I need help? And I would really love to get everybody out there that's listening, because there are mothers out there, there are sons out there. We have loyal listeners, and we have the best loyal listeners. And we got a call from one of our loyal listeners the other day that's trying to get help for her daughter. And now I have to give her so much respect and, you know, applaud her, because that's one of the hardest calls somebody could have to make. And I pray her daughter, you know, says, yes, I want to go get help. So I really like to know, what is it that makes it so hard for people to pick up the phone and say, I need help? And with that, let's welcome into KLEAN Radio the amazingly, awesomely, and a really good dude I found out before the show, Robert Rusler. Welcome to KLEAN Radio.
Thank you so much, Judah. I appreciate you having me here. And
we have a lot of good stuff to talk about with you. You have a movie coming out, a couple of new movies coming out this year. You've been in the industry since 1984, 1985. You're a sober actor. And but I want to get first, what does you wanted to save your answer of why people aren't, you know, getting on the phone.
Well, you know, it's alcoholism, man. It's like that 500-pound phone is such an obstacle, because I just really believe, from my own experience, there's two parts. There's the alcoholism and that alcoholic mind, which is the stinking thinking.
Right.
And then there's that spirit that, you know, that has that natural. Part of us really wants to be happy and survive and live good lives. And there's that other part that think that maybe we don't deserve good things in our lives, or, you know, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit too, something that, you know, an alcoholic used to revel in, which is drinking and partying and raging and going off. And then there's that other part where it becomes humiliating and embarrassing.
Right.
And, you know, I think once that phone gets picked up, the truth is exposed. And that's a tough thing for both sides of the addict, the part of them that is the addict that does not want help for the human being, and the other part, you know, that spiritual part too, where it's like, you know, I'm going to pick up that phone, I'm going to ask for help, and I might just get help. And that truth that it is so hurtful, and you know, we have to be willing to go through pain before that we can have serenity and peace. And I just think that it's a real struggle.
I love that metaphor, though, you used of the 500-pound weight, because you could visualize that in two ways. You could visualize it somebody suffocating with 500-pound weight on them, and then the freeing feeling once the 500-pound weight is you know, taken off. So, I mean, but how many people just suffer with that 500-pound weight on them?
I think everybody does, and to the point where, I think every alcoholic comes to a point when they can be honest and ask for help, when there's a realization that there's going to be some painstaking that's gonna be ahead of us. And once we can find that willingness to pick up that phone and ask for help, we don't realize until we do that just how much freedom that gives and how much that alleviates the guilt, the shame, the remorse.
It's one of the greatest feelings in the world. It's one of the greatest. I mean, when you pick up that phone and say, I need help.
Yes.
It's truly one of the greatest, if not the greatest feeling in the world.
There's a saying that says there's nothing more ridiculous than an alcoholic judging another alcoholic. But I think that's also true about the alcoholic judging themselves.
Right, which I think is far greater. I don't, and I always say to people, you can't beat up an alcoholic worse than he beats up himself, or a drug addict. People are always looking. We're very against Andrew, who's missing tonight, and he's out of the studio. But we're very against the tough love notion, in many ways, because what are consequences for somebody that's willing to shoot up, to stick a needle in their arm, to risk death every day? What is a consequence?
I mean, and it's so easy, I think, or natural for the alcoholic to not really see just what kind of impact they're putting on other people's lives when they're getting loaded. That's because they don't realize how much they can impact people when they get clean.
And if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. That's KLEAN with a K. Give us a call at 800-222-5222. That's 800-ABC-KBC. We're in the studio tonight with an amazing actor, Robert Rusler. And we're talking about why is it so hard for people to make that first move of saying, I need help. But you were actually in two of my you were actually in one of my favorite 1980s movies, which brought me nothing but happiness. And then you were in another one of, it wasn't my favorite, but you scared the bejesus out of me, which was, you went from Weird Science to Friday the 13th Part 2.
Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2.
I'm sorry, I meant Nightmare on Elm Street. And both of those, they all scared me. I'm scared to death of horror movies. And
Freddy, Jason, Michael, they're all scary.
Yeah, they all made me lose sleep. So you were in these two movies, and Weird Science was just, it's one of my, and you were, how old were you when this?
I was 19 when I got hired in John Hughes' office for the film at Universal Studios, and man, it changed everything.
I mean that had to be the greatest yes at that time. You're 19 years old, and what were you drinking heavily at the time? What was going on at that time?
No, actually, I was really focused on my career, and I had just finished high school, and I had been taking acting classes at a studio in Hollywood called the Loft Studio, and I was really determined and focused. But actually, to be honest with you, at that point, before I landed Weird Science, I was getting a little frustrated, and I actually had told my mom that if I didn't get this movie, I was going to join the Marine Corps. And she said, well, why this movie? And I said, Mom, this is so up my alley. I mean, this was me in high school. I was never a bully, but I always used humor to just sort of like kick on everybody. And I just knew in my heart of hearts that this film, I knew I could bring a lot to the table.
Right.
So as opposed to approaching it, which is a lot like recovery, by the way, instead of thinking, what am I getting or what am I not getting or what's in it for me, my sort of attitude changed, and I said, I have so much to contribute to this. I know that I could be a great character and tell the story well. And if I didn't get this, then I don't think it's cut out for me, and I'm going to go join the Marines.
Which is major alcoholic thinking, by the way, when you think about it. You went from landing a movie with John Hughes and debating it to, joining the Marines. I get that. That to me is, there's no middle. There's no, I'll go work, I'll keep working at my craft, I'll quit and join the Marines.
That's right.
If people are wondering what alcoholism is out there, that's the alcoholic mind at its greatest.
Thank you, thank you.
Landing a movie role, joining the Marines, alcoholism.
Thank God John Hughes hired me, by the way.
I mean, and John Hughes, you're 19 years old, and I got to tell you, I'm one of the biggest John Hughes fans. One one of my heroes, and you're 19 years old working with John Hughes, with Anthony Michael Hall, with Robert Downey Jr. I mean, you're 19 and you have the world by the, you know what you have the world
Sure.
by.
Yes, by the hand.
And what started happening? I mean, how was the set? Was it, drinking? Was it working? What was it?
It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we really had a blast. It was really great to be able to really learn from such a seasoned team of filmmakers that John Hughes and Joel Silver had put together to do Weird Science. And then, of course, meeting Anthony Michael Hall and Robert Downey Jr. and becoming fast friends with those guys. That's before the damage started coming in. I mean, that's when it was fun.
Right.
And it was working, and it was great. And then, not till later came the fun with problems,
right.
And when the fun with problems was occurring, it was really easy for the alcoholic mind just to remember the fun. So that's another reason why it was so hard for me to pick up the phone and ask for help, because two reasons. One is I might get what I actually desire, which is also taking away one of the things that I think makes life worth living, which is that killer buzz.
Right.
And then the other part to that, is, man, there's just so much to the other part of that, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think that's sort of where the dilemma comes in, is then when it only becomes problems, and I realize how much everybody else who loved me is affected by my actions. After the audacity of really believing that it's only me that I'm hurting, after that just figment dissipates, then I come to that final truth of, not only do I not want to continue what I'm doing because I'm unhappy, I'm unfulfilled, there's no purpose going, and it's not a party anymore. In fact, it's just the opposite. It's me alone in my apartment, and that's no party.
Well, I love how you sort of summed it up. It was fun with problems, then eventually it's just problems.
Yes.
And if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. The number here is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. We're in the studio tonight with the amazingly talented actor Robert Rusler, director too, writer. We're going to be talking to him soon about his new Kickstarter campaign for his new horror movie that he's going to be coming out with pretty soon. And we're also talking about, why is it so hard for alcoholics, for drug addicts, for people that are going through depression to pick up that phone. Let's go to Jimmy in New York. Welcome to KLEAN in New Jersey. I'm sorry about that, Jimmy.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to comment on everybody's got to hit a bottom, just like what Robert was pretty much saying there. And it's pretty much, you're exactly right. It turns into nothing but problems where, the end of my run, I was able to hit my bottom relatively fast. And that was to the point where, my wife had left, took my kids, and, I was out of money. And it was to the point where, August 17th of 2012 was the day of suicidal contemplation for me. And, by the grace of God, that I didn't die that day, and I was able to make it into a treatment center.
So, Jimmy, let me ask you a question. And because
sure.
I think what you're touching on confuses so many people out there, because, you lost your wife, right? She left you, your kids.
Yeah.
And we talk about, consequences. For you, those weren't consequences. For me, that would have been freedom for a bit.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that, and I say it sort of jokingly, is because people often, like when they look at drug addicts, they look at alcoholics, usually with beautiful minds, they can't grasp that they don't feel consequence.
Yeah.
Not realizing that your consequence was you basically killing yourself, Jimmy.
That's pretty much, you're right on the money with that. And it's, I don't know. I mean, it's to be where I am now is nothing shy of a miracle by God, because, when I look back at it, and I don't know how I made it. And, the things that have happened during the end of my run, I don't know how I'm not really pretty much dead or in prison, to be honest, with the stuff that I was doing. You know, it's crazy. It's insanity.
But, yeah, sorry, Robert.
No, I was just going to say, first of all, Jimmy, congratulations on your sobriety date, you know.
Thank you.
And, you know, for anybody that's struggling out there that's new, you know, he touched on something super important, whereas sometimes we think that the worst things that happen in our life, nothing productive can come from them. Hence, getting arrested, breaking your mom's heart, losing your wife and kid. But in recovery, those things turn out to be the very things that not only can change our spiritual growth, but that can become attributes for us to help others, to have a greater appreciation of our lives, and to have a deeper gratitude. Because, man, when you go far down the scale and you hit that bottom, it gives you a real nice perspective on life and how much we've taken for granted when we were getting loaded.
Absolutely.
And Jimmy, what are you up to these days? You do help people out there, right?
Absolutely. What I did is I want to say that I'm blessed to have my wife back and my kids and my family.
That's amazing.
And which is awesome, and nothing but recovery has given me that. I started my website, which is hope-end-faith.org.
There's a lot of dashes.
Yeah, I know. It's one of them domain things.
Yeah.
It was kind of tricky, but...
You could post that on our Facebook page. If you go to Facebook/KLEAN Radio, you could post that page. We'd love to see that.
Yep, absolutely. And I pretty much, I'm doing motivational speaking, working with teenagers and young adults that are struggling with addiction, that like a role model thing through my H&I commitment in my home group and whatnot.
That's great.
It helps me stay on the right track as well as giving back. So it's awesome stuff, man. Recovery's awesome.
That's amazing, Jimmy. I want to thank you so much. And you have to do me a favor. Robert,
Sure.
We're going to give out this information a little bit later. He's got this amazing Kickstarter campaign, and I need your help spreading the word. It's Kickstarter/Black Asylum. Is that how it goes, Robert?
Yes.
It's Kickstarter Black Asylum. It's for his new movie, and spread the word, because you know, that's what we do, is we spread the word.
Absolutely. I'd love to do it. I'm honored.
And Jimmy, thank you so much for the call.
No, I appreciate it, guys. Have a great night.
Keep giving it away to keep it, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Recovery rocks, baby.
Talk to you later. I mean, Robert, that's an awesome story. I mean, that really is. Here's a guy, lost wife, lost kids, and got sober, probably had, and he probably had no idea if they were going to come back or not, or even if he wanted them back.
You know, through adversity comes triumph, Judah. And, you know, what I loved about that story as well, not only did he get his wife and kids back, but now he's being of service and he's helping other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. That's a beautiful thing, man.
So when did things for you? So you did Weird Science, then you did, I want to say this correctly, The Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes, sir.
And when did things start going off the rails?
The 90s. You know, in the 80s it was fun, and it was happening, and I was traveling the world, and I was making a lot of money, which was just completely fueling, the inevitable.
Right.
But like I say, then it was fun, man. It was great, and back then I could party hard all night, wake up the next morning, and go surfing for 3 hours.
Right.
But what started to happen is this sort of slow spiral. And what needed to happen for me, what Jimmy and you just mentioned so eloquently, is that I hit a bottom, and for me, I hit several. And the last time when on my clean date, when I got sober, when I got clean and sober, if you're out there, clean being abstinent from drugs and alcohol, and sober finally getting some soundness of mind, body, and spirit. It starts with stopping, and then what I was doing. The only thing I've ever done in moderation is step work, by the way, for many years. So that contributed a lot to the ins and outs.
Well, what you're sort of saying is, for people that are new that are listening, and what you're saying with step work, the only thing you did in moderation was getting help for yourself.
Correct.
That was the only.
I would heal enough to get high. I would get the trust back, and I would get the leniency. I'd get some weight. I'd get all those things.
You'd get the first round of chemo.
Yes, and then I'd pull the rug out from under my own feet. And finally, what happened for me was the bottom that I hit last time. It wasn't even about the wheels coming off. It was about a spiritual moment of clarity where I knew deep in my heart to stop arguing with my brain about what to do. I wanted to follow my heart and my gut, and I picked up that 500-pound phone, and I called the people that I trusted most in my life, that I had already met, that I knew were clean, along with some family members that I knew had my back. And I just said, listen, I don't know anymore, and I need help. And those were the best words, I think, that the people that love me could have ever heard. Because instead of having some idea or some kind of plan, I just finally said, you know what, I have no plan. In fact, I want to go to the place that I was always apprehensive to go to because I thought that I might actually have joy and happiness in my life before if I stayed there.
That's amazing. And so if you're out there and you're listening and you're going through a problem, you're somebody in your family is going through a problem and you don't know what to do, you have that 500-pound phone on you, give us a call at 800-222-5222. And this is what we're going to say tonight. We're going to say we understand a lot of people out there are struggling financially. There's so many rough things. First of all, the call is absolutely free calling the station. But if you do need help with outpatient care and we could help you and you don't have money and you don't qualify for insurance, we will get you the help you need. And so people out there are driving and you're struggling, or you know somebody that's struggling and there are no finances, we'd love to give away beds to everybody. That unfortunately we can't do, but we will give outpatient care and we will try to help people. So give us a call. And I think sometimes that's also a fear people have, Robert, is so I'm going to call and then what?
Right.
There's no help.
Well, too, Judah, especially call if you don't feel like you have somebody that you can trust or that you can talk to, because just know that you can talk to us.
Yeah. And so the number here again is 800-222-5222. We're in the studio tonight with the amazingly talented and an awesome human being, Robert Rusler. You're listening to KLEAN Radio. That's KLEAN with a K. The discussion continues here. We'll be back in about a minute.
Are you struggling with an addiction that's ruining your life? Want to have a confidential conversation with a professional that will immediately assist you? Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs and would like a free drug testing kit and consultation? KLEAN Treatment Center is standing by right now to help those with addictions and the people who care about them. Call 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. Or go to KLEAN Treatment Center, that's KLEAN with a K, KLEANTreatmentCenter.com.
Welcome back to everybody out there listening to KLEAN Radio. Andrew's not in tonight, so it's me and the awesomely talented actor, Robert Rusler, who's had you've had a long career.
Yes, I've been blessed.
You've been blessed with, you've been in the industry since 1984. You've had ups, you've had downs, you've had, and now you're sober. You've been sober 6 years?
Yes.
And so many of your contemporaries, aren't in the industry anymore. They either lost it because of alcoholism or because they gave up. How have you stayed so long?
Just perseverance. And it's funny because, honestly, just really authentic and honestly, there's so much that I've learned in recovery that has everything to do with the fundamentals of how we live life anyway. And I think that, when it comes to recovery, what I think and feel about it doesn't really matter as much as what I do about it, right?
Right.
It's about action. And I think the same thing really applies in my life. Despite of my thoughts, my ideas, my opinions, my theories, and despite my feelings, however mixed they were, especially that fight of should I not, I don't know, what matters most is what I do about it. And one thing that I've always done in my life is I've stayed proactive in utilizing my friends, trying to stay as close and as loving and as loyal to my family. And in the same way with my career, like you said, Judah, I've had successes and setbacks. And one thing that is the common denominator is that I always stayed in the game And I would rather be in the game playing than sitting in the bleachers and judging, or sitting out in the parking lot saying coulda, woulda, shoulda. So that's been, I think, the one really theme that I think has kept me working.
And sober. I mean, because
Yeah.
that's almost the same way you have to live sobriety, is through the ups and the downs.
That's right.
But you're not in the bleachers. You're in the race.
Sure.
And one of the things we're talking about is tonight, you just tuned in, you'll see the KLEAN Radio, and we're in the studio with Robert Rusler. We're talking about, how do you get help? How do you pick up that phone and say, I need help? And one of the things I'd like to offer some people that are listening tonight is, we understand, and we're going to get to a call in a second, we understand this is one of the hardest calls you have to make. And you need an advocate. And we're here to be your advocates. We're here to help you through the process, whether it's, helping you get into rehab, helping you get into an outpatient program, and understanding that your finances right now might not be so great. Give us a call. It's absolutely free, and we're going to try to get you help. Let's go to Marcia in somewhere. Welcome to KLEAN Radio, Marcia. Marcia, you there? Marcia?
Hello.
Yeah, hi,
Hello?
Marcia. Welcome to KLEAN Radio.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I don't drink. My friend who does is in denial. She has said she's gone in and out of rehab, but I am very afraid that she could possibly drink and drive and hurt her little child.
Right.
My friends and I are thinking that the friends that don't drink are thinking of doing an intervention. I've researched it a little bit, and it's like thousands of dollars. So we thought we could do it. Do you think that's possible?
Marcia, that's actually a great question. First of all, she's really lucky to have friends like you. So she's far more, you and your other friends, she's far more progressed than most people will have. That you guys are actively caring. And Robert and I were actually talking about this before the show. One of the things I love about KLEAN and that we get to do is, this is an expense, rehabs and all these things are very, they can be very pricey, and you have all these different people that are making money sometimes that aren't always in the greatest of, with interventions and all that. It's important. Interventions are extremely important, but you don't have to pay thousands of dollars, Marcia, to to do that.
Right.
I could tell you, I'll give you our number, our private number, if you stay on hold after we get done with the call.
Okay.
And it will, we're gonna do the best we can to help you, so you guys don't have to.
But just from listening to you, I found you a couple times on the radio. It's helped me understand her a lot more.
That's great. Thank you. Are you going to get help for yourself too? Because
yes. Well, I've heard of like Al-Anon.
Right.
Those are the places to go to if you don't, to get help for people that are addicted in your life.
Yes,
So
loved
help
ones.
you. Yes. I have not gone to any of those places yet, but I know that's definitely a resource for us to go to.
I think that would be amazing if you and your friends went to this. Because it's just like you're listening to the show and you're getting, and you're starting to understand more about this crazy thing called addiction.
Right.
It's good for you guys, because you guys will learn boundaries, and you learn what's acceptable behavior, because it's one of the, Robert, right? It's one of the most difficult things this woman has a child, and her friends are scared to death, and, correctly, because a car is a weapon.
That's right.
Oh, God. Yeah. So, I partly feel responsible if I don't do something.
Yes. So, first of all, you are doing something. Obviously, you're a good friend and you care, but you're right. It's time to take it to the next step. Does she want to get help?
This is the problem. She says rehab doesn't work. She's been in and out. She's totally in denial. I thought it was a breakthrough just getting her to come to a meeting. We went to the meeting. She was so distant, and she just really went down. On the meeting, she just thought they were terrible and stupid, and then she left right away. But she's totally in denial. It's just,
Right.
I describe this behavior in another program. Like, oh my God, that's my friend.
Let me ask you a question, if I may. How old is the child?
9.
9. Now, does the child? Where's the father?
There's no father.
I see. And so the child must have some sort of an idea that mommy drinks, right?
I don't really know.
Trust me, if she's living, if it's a boy or girl and they're living in a house with an alcoholic, they know.
Yeah.
And
kids are smarter than we think.
what's going to happen if she does go to rehab? Is there a place for the child to go?
Okay, see, this is the thing. She said, "Oh," I said, "I will take your child. I will take her for a week, 2 weeks, 1 month." I offered it, but you know what? She stopped talking to me after I said that.
Well, of course, it's because, and it's what Robert and I have been talking about, and it's that's alcoholism. She has the 500-pound weight on her, and she doesn't want it lifted off yet.
Why, it's total denial, because it's like, and she says, "Oh, nobody's ever offered me," and I can't believe that no one in her life has ever offered. And I talked to my other friend. She's like, "I would take her. Now there's tons of people that would take her for however time she needs."
Yeah, there's programs also that help single mothers with children. She has been offered help because she's been to meetings. And, it's really important that you follow through and allow Judah to help, because there's two things to be, that are really important in this position here of the mother. First of all, with the alcoholism, untreated alcoholism, she certainly sounds like she needs help. And then also to for the best interest of the child.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you, Marcia. I'm more worried about the child than I am about her.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's a recovering alcoholic saying that. I care more. And it's not that I don't care about your friend, who I do.
No, it's the child. This is what is driving me.
Right. So here's the thing, Marcia. I want you to do something really important, okay? And you promise we're gonna stay in touch, okay? I'm gonna give you a different number off the air. But I want you to promise that you're going to call the number, first of all, because we're going to give you help. And secondly, I want you and your friends to go to Al-Anon meetings, to try to go to an Al-Anon meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't have to go through this. It's amazing that you're doing this, and it's really amazing. But I don't want you to have to do this by yourself.
I love my friend, but I am focused on that child.
Yes.
She deserves more.
Well, that's the great thing about Al-Anon is, they equip you to deal with the situation in a way that's most efficient to be helpful. So, when you get the information and when you have that team, then you're able to be of better service to your friend and to the child.
Well, I'll know how to come back. She'll say, "Oh, you're not drinking. You don't know. Oh, you're not a parent. You don't know." So at least they could give me information and say, "Well, I do know this and this and this."
And not only that, I'm going to give you a great thing to say back, because obviously it sounds like she said this to you before.
Yeah.
You say to her, "You're right. What's your point?"
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm going to tell you. You say that. You say that back to your friend. "You're right. What's your point?" It's a very hard thing to come back from.
Okay.
My therapist told me that to tell my brain when it starts.
That's awesome. Thank you. I use that a lot.
Yeah, Marcia, I'm telling you that, and I shall do my best when people ask me for things.
Yeah.
The two greatest things I say.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
So, Marcia, please stay on the line. We're going to give you the number. You sound like you're driving?
Yeah, I'm going to pull over.
Okay, pull over, and I want you to take this number down. Give it a call, and we're going to help you. We're going to help you, whether it's with the intervention, whether it's getting you to an Al-Anon meeting, having somebody take you to that Al-Anon meeting, because these things are terrifying sometimes to go by themselves, to go by yourself, and your other friends.
Well, I'm pretty fearless. I could do it.
You sound very fearless.
Yes, once you've taken care of an elderly parent, you are fearless.
So also go on KLEAN Radio /Facebook/KLEAN Radio if you have Facebook, and comment side comment, private message, so I know who you are and we could talk.
Okay.
And you don't have to do this alone, Marcia. So, I mean, I give you so much, props, as they say, for giving us a call tonight, because even as for you, that was the hardest call.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all the help and the advice.
Thank you so much, Marcia.
Okay, thanks.
Have a great night. I'm going to put you on hold, okay?
Great.
And if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. That was Marcia calling. And I mean, this is a great call, Robert. I mean, Marsha's talking about having a friend that's dealing with, you know, a friend that has alcoholism. What do you do?
You know, you made a point of saying that picking up that call to get help, whether it be you as the sufferer or suffering because of somebody else's actions. You know, I just want to say something to those out there listening, is that if it were easy, there'd be no reward in it, okay? You know, sometimes when things are difficult, that's what gives it value. Anything that's ever come easy to me hasn't had much value in it anyway. So
because if it did, you wouldn't have lost it.
That's right. Yeah. So picking up that phone and asking for help, doing what Marsha did, picking up that phone and saying, hey, you know what? I don't know what to do. Those are the magic words, okay? She gave us a lot of details, which are really important in the second call. But the most important thing that she did was say, hey, guys, this is the deal. I don't know what to do. And that's how we get help.
You know, it's amazing what you're saying. You're right. And, you know, it's funny because sometimes with work, too, we have to say that. With life, sometimes we have to say that. And I think as a culture or as a man, we're taught sometimes, I can't say that. Right. I can't say, how do you do this?
Yes.
And I've made some of the, you know, I've made some of the worst blunders had I right away said, I don't know how to do this. This isn't my bag, but it might be somebody else's bag. Let me go ask for help.
Sure.
And it's really interesting because we're talking about also, where I'm in the studio tonight. We're in the studio. If you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. We're in the studio with Robert Rusler, amazingly talented actor who's been in the industry for a really long time. And you have this Kickstarter campaign out there now called, say the name?
Black Asylum.
Black Asylum. And you're sort of like a very well respected in the horror industry. You're I don't want to say a god, but they love you.
I'm a minion.
Yeah, the horror folks just love you, and they're an amazing base. Yeah,
they're the most dedicated genre fan base in the world for sure.
And so you created this Kickstarter campaign, and you said yourself you might have created a little bit too early.
Yes,
but you've had a lot of success with it. I mean, you've raised $20,000 so far.
Yes,
you're a little shy of your major goal, but I got to tell you, that's amazing that you've raised $20,000. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Thank you. You know, I'm really proud, and you know, honestly, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come on this show too, is because it has everything to do with recovery.
Right.
You know, getting into action and following a dream and utilizing what I have in front of me, and you know, it's really my work ethic is ingrained from being an actor, but also from having a wife and 3 kids to take care of, getting back to some of the other callers and being able to relate to their situation and their circumstances. And, you know, I wrote this film, Black Asylum, because it's always been a dream and a passion of mine. I like you said, Judah, I've been really fortunate and blessed to be an actor for a long time, and I've always dreamed of being a filmmaker. And, you know, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason, and I don't believe that there's such thing as coincidence. You know, there's a saying that it's God's way of staying anonymous, coincidences. And I wrote this film, and I'm really, really excited about it. My partner Jay Montalvo and we have a new production company called Entertainment Playground. We have actually 10 films on our slate.
That's amazing.
We're really excited to get off, and Black Asylum is the first of those 10, which we also plan on making a trilogy. And it's going to be super cool, super crazy, super scary, super creepy. But it's also got a lot of message in it because it has to do, without giving too much away, the relationship between these 2 brothers and the dynamic of their relationship. And one brother has everything on the outside, Judah. He has the wife and the kids and the great job and, you know, the American dream, the white picket fence.
Right.
But deep inside, he's carrying a really dark, really dangerous secret. The other brother, who is the absolute dichotomy of his younger brother, on the inside is this sweet and vulnerable and passionate person, but he is also labeled a mentally deranged psychotic, and he has grown up a product of society and juvenile hall to jail to the Northwood Asylum for the criminally insane. And when these two brothers meet after many years of not seeing each other, it turns into this whole spider web of betrayal and deceit and murder.
So it's sort of like a horror of the movie Twins.
Good.
You know, these,
yeah, I like that.
these two brothers that grew up totally right, and then they meet.
Yeah.
Twins was a happy ending. This is a little more scary.
Now the brother he masterminded an escape from the asylum, and he infiltrated into this town with a psychotic cult following. So when the brother and his family come to see his older brother, who, like I said, they were long lost, and he comes to this town of Northwood to visit his brother, he is immediately confronted with his own secrets.
Right.
And is immediately, his number one priority is to protect his secret and to protect his family. And the older brother that has been in the insane asylum wants nothing more than to expose the secret and clear his own name. So, you know, it's sort of like a little chess game. You know, I started writing this movie on the concept, and then I really started owning the story. And I've put together this amazing team of cast and crew. I've been utilizing all the relationships I've accumulated over the 30 years of my career, from, like I said, from the actors to the director of photography to, you know, the costume designer to the special effects man, all the way down right to the people that are serving the food, all people that I've worked with before.
What I love what you're saying about this movie, though, and it's really a sobriety story in itself, not the, you know, about how you've done the movie. You know, you got sober 6 years ago. You've been working on it. You know, this is a gift of your sobriety. This is, you know, one of those things. You got sober and you're able to make a movie. Yeah,
it's very true. And you know, the guys that I got sober with all promised me, and they said, "Listen, kid, if you make this an inside job, you're gonna be able to stop reaching for things to make you happy. You're gonna be able to stay still for a little while, and you're gonna be a magnet for good things to come to you." And that's along with a lot of footwork, and that's the footwork is the actual writing and the collaboration with my partner Jay, and putting together the team. You know, so
let me ask you a question.
Yes,
what
sir.
was going on 6 years ago? Because I want people out there to understand. If you just tuned in, by the way, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. We're talking with actor Robert Rusler, and he's talking about his new movie that he's in the process of getting off the ground called Black Asylum. 6 years ago, what was it like?
6 years ago, like I said before, the wheels hadn't come off again, because the wheels had come off prior. I had stopped doing hard drugs, and I had stopped drinking hard alcohol, but I was playing with a loaded gun by, you know, thinking that it was okay to smoke pot and drink beer, and sort of justifying, you know, the reasons why it was going to be okay, because on the outside I felt like I was managing my life. But really what I've learned, hindsight being 20/20, is that there's no spiritual defense once that happens. I might think that I'm managing my life, but I'm really not being my best creative, spiritual, loving self.
And I think that's such a cool point, because so many people, when they're in the grips of addiction, the grips of alcoholism, they're not living their lives. You know, and there's nothing worse. Then there's no worse punishment on yourself. It's like in the movie A Bronx Tale, there's nothing worse than wasted talent. You know, that constant point kept on being pushed through in that. And it's like when you're in active addiction, you're wasting the talent, and you know it. It's
so funny that you say that, because I used to hear this saying in when I would go to recovery meetings, which was my worst day sober is better than my best day getting loaded. And I would say, well, how did you get loaded? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what did you do? Just sit in a motel room and drink? Like, didn't you go out and party? And what I see and how my perspective has changed on that is that once I was able to have a spiritual awakening as a result of some hard work and some sacrifice and really what I was talking about before, which was that phase of painstaking work. On the other side of that, when the spirit gets awoken, there's a whole new lease on life. There's a whole new attitude. There's a whole new outlook. And now I see what people mean when they say that my worst day sober is better than my best day drinking. Because as long as I'm clean, and as long as I'm working a spiritual program, and I'm being unselfish, and I'm being true to myself, I do, again, like when I got that movie Weird Science, have the world by the hand.
Yes. But what's amazing is that you're walking through it sober, and people out there that are listening that are struggling, I think the hardest thing sometimes what you were talking about before is the regret. You know, so many people can't get sober, have a hard time getting sober because they look at the past and it almost
stifles them.
It stifles them.
Sure.
And one of the things that's amazing is you've had this up and down, and not, we're not just talking about acting, but in life, you have 3 beautiful children, you have a beautiful wife, your career is on the upswing, and but 6 years ago these weren't the prospects. The prospects were a little darker 6 years ago. And the reason I think that's so important is because the people out there that are listening that are struggling 6 years later, it's not all pink roses yet. No,
of course not. But here's the thing about what I have experienced in my recovery also, and I hope you guys can hear this. This is not advice. This is only my own experience. I'm not a smart, sober guy. I'm an experienced addict. And it makes me laugh every time I say that.
That should be like on a fortune cookie in 12-step meetings.
Yeah. But the thing is that I forgot the point.
You forgot. Okay, that's and if you just tuned in, by the way, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. We're in the studio tonight with the awesomely talented Robert Rusler, who's getting a new movie off the ground. It's called Black Asylum. It's on Kickstarter. Yes.
I just remembered what I was.
You remembered your point?
Yeah, I remembered my point.
It's okay. We're accepting of that.
Yeah, we're going back 6 years. It was a long time ago. But you know what? You're never supposed to forget where you come from. The funny thing is that my wife and I looked at each other 6 years ago, and we were like, "Really? Is this what we're doing now?" Because again, like it wasn't, that down and destitute.
It was worse. You guys were in purgatory. You were in the purgatory of using.
We looked at each other and we said, "Is this what we're doing now?"
Yeah. Where it wasn't great.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
And we're all our friends, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, they're hanging out with like 4 dudes because they get stoned. And I was like, you know what? You're right. You know what? All my friends are in recovery.
Yeah.
Either they're in recovery or they're upstairs with the big amigo in heaven because they went just that one hot shot too much.
I just had that scene of Say Anything in my mind, where they go to and there's like the 5 guys hanging outside like the Piggly Wiggly talking about all the bad things in life but not living it.
Yeah.
And, with the dudes smoking pot, like this is as good as it gets, there's no joy in managing your addiction.
Oh, it's brutal.
That is, there's no joy in, to the people out there, that is the worst. That's hell.
Well, Marcia was saying that her friend was talking about, being in denial. And, what I see is a lot of people come in new and they think it's such hard work. And it is at first. But it's so much harder of work to manage the addiction.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that I used to do to try to cover and shuck and jive and manipulate and concoct and I mean, I was like a mad scientist trying to make everything work all the time.
Yeah.
And all I was doing was really just constantly taking steps backwards and driving myself nuts with it.
And so, but the biggest thing we're saying to the people out there that are listening is there is hope. And we are running out of time. But since we are running out of time, and I know this is one of the, we've been talking about tonight, the 500-pound, weight that's on people for being scared to death to, give a call. You could also call us off air. The number is 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. It's absolutely free just to get help. We all need advocates. You were lucky that, this time around, you didn't have to lose everything. And you had the people that you knew you could call.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages, Judah, of continuing to come back.
Yeah.
Is, it's better just to stay. But they don't mean just keep coming back after relapses. They also mean keep coming back even once you have the spiritual awakening because you got to give it away to keep it.
And so for Marcia represents so many people out there. And that's why it's amazing that she had enough, strength to give us a call. There's so many people out there that have friends that are struggling that, with addiction that don't know where to go, that just don't know how to get out of the pain.
And I think you said the most important thing for the people that are struggling and for the people that are being affected by those people that are drinking and using and making a mockery of their lives is that there's help. Everybody out there should know that It's never what we anticipate it to be.
So you're we're running out of time, Robert. In the studio with Robert Rusler, an amazingly talented actor who's been in the industry for 29 years. I did the math. That's one of the gifts of sobriety, I could add.
Yeah.
And from Weird Science to Nightmare on Elm Street, you did the 90s. You had The Outsiders, the TV show.
Yes.
I did my work. I did a little work on this.
Appreciate that.
You have an amazing family, an amazing wife, and, you know, a little stagnation, you know, like we all hit, but you stayed in the game. And, you know, 2013 is an amazing year. You have 2 movies. You have a bunch of stuff coming out this year.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and just to be working, you know, Judah, it's a privilege, it's an honor, it's a blessing, and you know, this Black Asylum film that I have on Kickstarter is it really means a lot to me, and I've been you know, going out on social media because I don't have this big PR machine behind me, so thank you so much for having me on the show.
And you do, because you have your fans.
Yeah,
you have a bigger PR machine than most people. You have like these horror fanatics.
Well, we're just starting to build momentum, and I'm super grateful to the fans out there for supporting. They go on Kickstarter. You know, it's not even about a lot of money. It's like if all the fans just put in $1, I'm going to have the budget goal met, and I'm going to be able to make a really great movie that I really feel a strong passion inside. All the tricks are up my sleeve. I don't want to put my cards out on the table, but I want to stamp myself as a director and introduce our production company to the world, and I have a lot to prove as a creative being.
And you're doing it all sober, and I love the campaign model. It's like sort of like Feed the Children. You know, it's 35 cents a day. If every single one of your fans gave $1, you'd have $1 million too.
Yeah, our saying is that it's a horror film by and for the fans,
and it's going to be a great film. I mean, if everybody out there, you were in one of the most iconic 1980s movies of all time, and which is Weird Science, and I mean, it's just awesome, and it's an honor to have you in the studio. We'll have you back again, but you've made it, you know, and when I mean you've made it, you've survived. You know, you've survived the ups and downs of, you know, we've seen many people in your industry that haven't. And you're sober now. You're 6 years sober. And you have an amazing story. You have an amazing family. And I just really want to thank you again.
Thank you, Judah. Thank you so much for having me. I dig 790 KABC.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. I dig it, too. And to everybody out there listening, all our fans, I want to thank everybody that's helped make the show put together. Patrick, Rand, Steve, Mark, and everybody out there. And I want to thank our fans. Go to KLEAN Radio /Facebook/KLEAN Radio. I can't remember that. But the discussion continues at KLEANRadio.com.
Are you struggling with an addiction that's ruining your life? Want to have a confidential conversation with a professional that will immediately assist you? Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs and would like a free drug testing kit and consultation? KLEAN Treatment Center is standing by right now to help those with addictions and the people who care about them. Call 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. Or go to KLEAN Treatment Center, that's clean with a K, KLEANTreatmentCenter.com.